Welcome back to my corner of the multiverse. This is the Salty Goddess Podcast, and I'm Margaret Perry. Be sure to subscribe, follow, share, comment on all of our platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Podbean. Of course, you can find this podcast everywhere you listen. Make sure all your friends get to join you in your hump day enjoyment for the week. All right, let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by the salty word peasant. Anybody who speaks to me on the daily often hears me use the term peasant. People hear me say things like, don't be a peasant, or I'm not a peasant. And often they mistaken the definition of the word that I'm using to mean that someone is financially insecure or has less cash flow than I do, has less money, has less assets, less liabilities. I don't know. I don't know what gets conjured up in people's heads. But let me explain to you that the salty goddess uses the term peasant in relation to knowledge. Knowledge. I don't give a crap how much money you make. I don't give a shit how big your house is. I don't care what you drive. Doesn't make a difference to me. But I'm going to tell you what does make a difference to me. Your manners, the way you treat other people, and how you wield the knowledge that I'm pretty damn sure you should have learned by now. And I probably sound irritated right now because there's a lot of things about it and about the way people behave in 2025 that literally would make me want to throat punch them. So let's get started. Let's talk about those knowledge gaps. And somewhere along the lines, you didn't either learn manners or you've forgotten all the ones that were taught to you, shown to you, given to you by example. Now, let's start with the basics. Don't when you have food in your mouth. Don't shove so much food in your mouth that you can barely chew with your mouth closed. Don't chew with your mouth open. I mean, these are basic, common things. Wash your hands after you blow your nose and you use the ladies' room. Please, oh my God, every time I go out, I cannot believe the number of people that, at least in the ladies' room, that do not wash their hands. I have no idea what's going on in the men's room because I don't partake at the men's room. But I do partake at the ladies' room. Y'all should be embarrassed because I know I'm disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. Teach your children how to use a fork and a knife the proper way. I witnessed someone picking up a rather large piece of meat on their fork and just chew the meat off the fork in bite-sized chunks. Excuse me? That's what the knife is for? Come on, y'all. Are we going back to Neanderthal days when we just grabbed a hunk of meat and just started chewing on it? Come on. Oh my God, that's what a peasant is. That's what peasantry is. Peasantry has zero to do with how much money you make. You can be the poorest person at the table and still have manners. You can be the least educated, officially educated person, meaning you don't have a single certificate or post-secondary school education at all, and have more manners than some of these people that I've seen that have, MBAs and masters and doctorates and all the rest of it. Okay, so this has nothing to do with your income level or how much money you have or don't have in the bank. It is just what I would consider common courtesy, common knowledge. Okay, manners, saying thank you, saying please. Okay, not being demanding, not being belittling to people that have no control over the fact that, the pine nuts you wanted on your salad are out of stock. Oh my goodness, if I ever spoke to my parents, the way that some of you all speak to people, I'm pretty sure I would have been cuffed right in the back of the head. It's just unbelievable to me what I am seeing. That, my friends, is peasantry. I know that y'all know better. I know you do. I know that even if You didn't learn it at home when you were young. You saw examples of this behavior in your everyday life elsewhere, at school, from other adults, at work. Come on, please clean up after yourselves, right? I mean, to me, ladies and gentlemen, this is just common courtesy. Okay? It's common courtesy. I do not understand what y'all are thinking. And individuals with knowledge gaps who refuse to do anything about it but will stand up there and evangelize how knowledgeable they are when they're not. Okay, what? Come on. Learn how to use a napkin in your lap. Learn how to use a knife. Understand that a bite-sized piece of food in your mouth is what belongs in there and not half of a steak or a mound of potatoes that is so huge. First of all, I don't even know how you got your mouth that big to open up and fit all that food in there. How do you do that without choking? I don't know. And maybe this makes me an old wrinkly white lady. Maybe this makes me a Karen, okay? Maybe it makes me, the guy on the porch saying, get off my lawn. But I will tell you that I believe that the degradation of these manners and this politeness is what is really eroding a lot of what we're trying to accomplish today, and it's making our jobs harder today. Believe me when I tell you. All right, do you have to learn to use fancy words? Do you need to know how to eat off of every piece of silverware on a state dinner setting? No, you don't. I am simply speaking to common, everyday manners. You receive a gift, a thank you note should be forthcoming. You don't have money for a thank you note? Get yourself some lined paper and a pencil, a pen, a crayon. Again, Marines could do it. Crayons, okay? And write a note. Write a note. It is just a common courtesy. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in understanding that the erosion of some of these things are part of the reason why we're all so damn testy all the time. No one feels appreciated. Others behave as if they're entitled. Okay, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. And I'm not talking we've got to be, formal like they were a couple hundred years ago when they were talking about things and stuff like that. And, children shouldn't speak unless they're spoken to, that kind of crap. I don't mean that. I'm just talking a common politeness should be, part of everything that we do. And that's the peasantry that I speak about. The peasantry of no knowledge or no understanding of how your behaviors have that ripple effect on everyone else around you. The moment we stop teaching our children to say please and thank you, the moment we stop teaching individuals to not acknowledge gratitude or a gift or a kindness, we are literally setting ourselves up for some ugliness. And I don't mean to be ugly. I don't want to be ugly. But this kind of stuff is really, really ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Now, y'all are going to laugh at me because I'm about to show you a book. And it's a book that I have used for many years. I probably read it for the first time when I was like 13 years old or read parts of it. Okay? So if y'all are laughing, I'm so glad I can't hear you right now. I'm about to show my age. This book was written a long time ago, 1922. It's titled Etiquette in Society, in Business, in Politics, and at Home. There's a lot to be said for what's contained in this rather thick book. Now, not all of it may pertain to you, your daily lives, or your interactions with others. I'm in business. I went to a legislative breakfast recently. Thank you, Mr. Henry Lewis, for making sure that SCEMSA was properly in attendance at the legislative breakfast at the state capitol in Columbia, South Carolina. I enjoyed myself. I learned many, many things. So thank you, Mr. Lewis. I appreciate that. And Mr. Ronsky for joining me. And Mr. Bowers and Mrs. Bowers, thank you as well. A little call out to a couple of my friends here in South Carolina. We call ourselves the South Carolina contingent. There's a lot to be said about some of the things that are in here. Some are outdated in the sense of the way in which women and people of color and things like that were spoken to or handled. I don't mean to incorporate those things because, ladies and gentlemen, I am a woman of 2025. I've got a voice. I'm loud, probably really annoying to some people. Okay? And that's all right. I am not everyone's shot of whiskey. And I pride myself in that. It's okay. You don't have to be everybody's shot of whiskey either. But I'm somebody's, and that's all that matters. So, learn a thing or two. Get a book. Maybe, Stephanie, Melody, Erica, maybe this should be our next project. A book of etiquette for the real world in 2025. Now, do I expect any one of you to go in here and read all of these? I have to put my old lady glasses on, okay? Because, I have presbyopia, which means that my lens in my eyeball doesn't accommodate the way it used to when I was younger. A little bit of knowledge for y'all, all right? There's over 600 pages in this text. Do I think that all 600 pages are going to necessarily be part of your journey or part of your thing? No, they're not. They're not going to be. So let's see. There's 619 pages, to be exact. But there's a lot to be said for being polite. Oh, and you know what? There's a lot to be said for understanding what expectations there are when you do attend certain events. Okay? So I look at it as a guidebook, not as the rule of law, right? It's a guidebook. I still handwrite letters to people and thank you notes. I still write out sympathy cards, birthday cards. Honestly, I actually suck at birthday cards and getting them to you on time. That is the truth. I do. I'm trying to get better at it. It is one of those things that I'm really not good at. I looked at the calendar this morning and realized that there were 2 birthdays that I missed, sort of, because I did not mail out a birthday card in time. This is the one time when I can say thank God or thank the goddesses for text messaging. So I was able to text a birthday wish to those individuals. It's important, guys, that we don't lose some of what makes that interaction with one another special. Texting is great. It has uncomplicated so many things for so many of us. It has made conversating with family, friends, and loved ones and business partners and all of those individuals so much easier and less expensive, to be honest, right? Facebook Messenger is free. You just need an internet connection, which you can get in almost any cafe. Walking down the street, you can hook into something's free Wi-Fi, right? And I appreciate that because it does make my life so much easier in so many ways. But it does remove a certain personal touch to our communication. And that's what I fear, that as we continue to erode those things away, what are we left with? Have you ever gone a day or two without having contact with anyone? Now, I grew up in a household, I'm one of 10 children. I'm the 8th born, and I always had someone to speak to. Even if it was to have an argument, there was always someone available to talk to. But have you ever, as an adult, gone an entire day or two without any contact with another human being? It's very isolating. And we should recognize that sometimes these are the things we actually need to fulfill ourselves and to feel a certain way. And I know that some of you who have grown up in the tech era who haven't maybe ever received a handwritten note or something of that manner, wouldn't really be like, what is she talking about? Is she crazy? I text everybody. It's what you know. But if you've never experienced a handwritten note, a thank you note, a letter, things of that nature, speak to somebody in the military who's in boot camp, who doesn't have access for up to 9 to 12 weeks to anything but letters and an occasional phone call. And ask them what it meant to them to receive that letter when they were in boot camp. And it could have just literally been a one-pager with maybe 3 paragraphs on it. But it meant the world to them. It was that contact with the outside world. Speak to individuals in nursing homes who you see campaigns all the time on Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook requesting, please send a birthday card to XYZ individual. This is the address. They're turning 100 years old today. Nothing would make their day better than a card, even if it is from a stranger. Think about that connection and how important it is for some individuals. You know, some of you might hear this and think, I don't give a shit if I ever get another letter. I don't even go to the mailbox but once a week. That's fine. You do you, boo. That's fine. It's good. But I will tell you, we're missing certain parts of that connection. There is nothing like the written word. There's nothing like seeing someone take the effort to handwrite a letter to you. And I will tell you, I remember when my children were in boot camp and receiving a letter from them, I would read and reread and reread and reread over and over and over again their letters because it made me feel connected to them. So I'm going on and on about this, and you're probably all like, oh, who really gives a flying rat's ass? This woman is out of her mind. But I'm telling you, we're losing some level of manners that I would just call them just basic. Thank you, please. I appreciate the help you've given me. And listen, I am not talking about you need to get on your knees and praise somebody for what they do for you, but a thank you is super important. It's super important. I recently have had a rash of, sadly, deaths around me. And no, I didn't kill any of them. Okay, wasn't my doing. I know y'all think I'm like that. But no. And I sent sympathy cards to each of them. And someone said to me, oh, it's just enough that you sent me a text. It's not enough. That text will be there. And if you're like other individuals and you delete all of your texts and stuff to keep your phone from getting all junked up, that text will disappear. And then you won't have it to look back on. But a card, a note that is sent, that's there, and they can read it and reread it. And it's important. I know y'all laugh, but I even send sympathy cards when a close friend's dog has passed away, or cat, or, their bird, or any, pet that they may have had that they adored and cared for deeply. So I just say to everyone that manners are extremely important. That connection is extremely important. And it was said, and again, here's my age, that Princess Diana handwrote and responded to everyone that wrote to her. Now, I don't know if that's accurate for every single piece of mail that she received. I don't know. But because obviously I didn't know her personally. But imagine that connection. Someone felt compelled to send her a note, a letter, a small gift. And she acknowledged each and every single one of them. And I can't even imagine how busy that woman was. Okay? But she took the time to at least send a number of them out because people have been talking about it. And she's been dead since if memory serves me correctly, 1997. Okay? So I want you to understand that there are some things that are extremely important. I don't think we should be moving away from some of those traditions. Now, listen, not every tradition is worth keeping. They're not. But manners, thank yous, gratitude, things of that nature, extremely important. And I have to tell you something. It might be corny and it might be old school, but every once in a while, I feel compelled to send someone a text. Because in that moment, I have a moment and I think about them, and who knows why they popped into my brain. Y'all, anybody that knows me knows about this brain, okay? And you could pop into my brain at 3 a.m. And I'll send a quick little something like, hey, I just want to say thank you. Or I want to say, I was thinking about you today, and I thought about this particular situation that took place. And I'll send the message off, and I'll hear back from them. And what they might say back to me, and this isn't every single time, that's not what I'm saying. But they'll say, I really needed that today. Thanks for sending that. I appreciate that. And I think it's great that you have such fond memories of us. And this is anything from one of my favorite mentors ever, Peter. You know who you are. I love you dearly, dearly, and appreciate everything about you. Everything. So just know that personal touch might be just what that individual needs that day. Maybe it's not, and that's fine too. I just am trying to explain that, I saw some really interesting behaviors when I was out at a conference recently, some other interesting behaviors at other events that I went to, and I just see an overall degrading of politeness. And I'm not talking about political correctness. There's a difference, all right? I'm talking about genuine, basic politeness. When a server comes to my table to remove my dishes, I always tell them thank you. It's appropriate. Yes, it's their job. Yes, they get paid for it, but I still appreciate what they've done. There's nothing wrong with saying thank you. It doesn't make you weak. All right? For all of you that are running around going, oh, I'm not doing that. Showing gratitude is strength. Appreciating what others do. When I receive my Dunkin' Donuts green tea refresher, I say thank you to the individual that hands it to me, right? Because it's polite. When I get off an airplane, every time as I go past the cockpit, often the pilot or co-pilot are standing there with the lead flight attendant. And I say to them every single time, well, to the pilot, I say, well, you fly like I drive. You got us here nice and quick. And I always say to the flight attendant, thank you. Have a great day. Be safe. I get pulled over by a police officer and I thank him. Okay? I do. Why? It's polite. Maybe it's muscle memory. Could be any of those things. I'll tell you, I got a couple chuckles from them. They thought it was pretty funny. And then I think to myself, well, I made somebody laugh today. That's awesome. Probably going to go back and tell everybody I pulled this wacky woman over and she told me thank you. got to be the strangest thing I've ever had happen to me. All right? We need these basic manners and this politeness because we all live together in society here, don't we? We all interact with one another. As a matter of fact, I do my best to try to make people laugh whenever I see them. I'll tell them a funny story about something I did that was really stupid or some mistake that I've made, nothing that's like a dangerous mistake or anything, but I talk about all the funny things that happen or I make fun of myself often. Okay? I even make fun of my formal behaviors that I have. Because for some people, maybe it's uncomfortable for them, or maybe they're not accustomed to it. But I always try to make people happy because it's a positive feeling. Absolutely a positive feeling. And I'll tell you, when people are laughing and giggling, I'm laughing and giggling too. And it's uplifting. It's a great mood enhancer. Okay? So, manners, politeness, start to exercise it in everything that you do. And you'll find that many of your interactions with individuals will be for the better. Parents, I challenge you. Work with your children. Be an example. Show that politeness. Show those manners. Children learn by example, and we live what we learn. And yes, not only did I learn it from a book, but I first learned it from my parents and my siblings, my grandparents, and the families that we hung out with. Okay? So, make that your first habit. Thank you. I appreciate that. Try it. Try a thank you note. You'd be surprised. I get some of the best letters that are handwritten. Okay? And y'all, I apologize. By the way, I do owe apologies to individuals out here. For those of you who have received notes from me and it's in cursive, I'm sorry because I forgot. Some of y'all don't know how to read it. It was my daughter. My daughter said, nobody can read your fancy cursive, Mom. I've read cursive before. It doesn't look like yours. And I do have an older script of handwriting I learned in a Catholic school. So, nuns were teaching me how to write. Yeah. Mm-hmm. May or may not have been traumatized by the event, which is probably why I still write that way. All right? I probably haven't built up any coping skill or any resilience to get over that. So here we are, writing in fancy cursive, as my daughter reminded me. So that is my challenge to you guys. Attempt those manners. Teach your kids. Be an example. And I will tell you, even if no one else around you is doing it, do it anyway. It's good for the people that you interact with. And even if the person that you're interacting with isn't reciprocal, don't let that get you out of that habit of doing it. I think that if each of us did it and we did it more frequently and we were more polite, that I think everybody's day would just go a little bit better. All right? So y'all, don't be a peasant. Again, not related at all to your income level or your assets and liabilities or where you've gone in life. It doesn't matter about what neighborhood you live in. You can be the poorest person. You could be without a home, no income, and still not be a peasant because you have manners and respect. And I will tell you something. I have received more politeness from individuals that have absolutely zero to their name than I have from some CEOs and individuals with almost as many post-nominal letters as I've got. And as y'all know, I pretty much have the alphabet. So, don't be a peasant. I challenge y'all. And listen, feel free to send me a letter. I want to hear all about it. Send me a note. Send me an email. goddess@thesaltygoddess.com. I'm really interested in hearing what you all are up to and how you're, I don't know, passing it forward, if you will. Politeness costs absolutely $0.00. Let's try it out. Well, I appreciate y'all for joining me in my corner of the multiverse here at the Salty Goddess Podcast. I'm Margaret Perry. Be sure to subscribe, follow, comment, check me out on all our social media platforms, and make sure you come back next week for your midweek Hump Day Guilty Pleasure. Take care, y'all.